Josh.
Spearfishing.
Welcome to Nature's Neighbor.
Oh.
I am your host, Melanie Blankenship, and I am joined on time with my co-host, Josh Carmichael. And it is Monday, September 15th, 2025. I like to put the dates out there because it is the 15th.
Wow.
You know, and
I didn't look. I'll trust you.
I had to write it a couple of times
Okay.
today. It's the
I
only
believe
reason
you
why
now.
I knew
I
it
believe you
was.
now.
You know, you can't tell by the weather outside.
I can just tell by the amount of phone calls I got today that it must have been
middle
Monday.
of the month. Yeah,
must
Monday.
have been back to it. Yeah, everyone's on it.
You can't tell realistically
Life is hustling,
the
bustling.
by going outside though. Like the weather is definitely something to write home
People
about.
are feeling winter coming. Winter is coming, and so
feels
they're
like
moving.
fall.
It is really
feels like
feeling like
fall.
fall. Fall came on quick this year.
Yeah.
A lot of the seasons were late, but fall sort of came right on time.
But we only had a week of summer.
It's been beautiful. It's been nothing but beautiful, especially at the beaches, up and down the coast. We're in Big Sur, spearfishing everywhere. There's been good visibility. The weather's been nice. There's been, really calm.
I cannot complain.
And it's hot up here. That's summer to me.
I love the heat. I understand the heat, and I appreciate. I honestly, as a farmer, I appreciate the heat. Also,
Yeah, ripen everything up.
We haven't had the heat, and farming is definitely
everything needs the ripening right now.
It's been a challenge. It's been, the struggles of trying to, fulfill a contract or fulfill a timeline.
Yeah.
This timeline for weather has not been playing very fair when it comes to things. I know that the grape guys are all in harvest right now. I know that the whites are coming off. What does that mean? That means that we are in fall, but this is also very late. Usually the whites start coming off the grapes vines.
Yeah, every season
August.
came on late. Yeah,
It's getting later and later. But it's
Late
also
summer.
for me who farms multiple different things. This is also, as you're starting to plan things and you're starting to like promotion and advertisement and letting people know that what's coming, I'm letting people know that the second Saturday in November, I just say it, because who knows what the date number is, but it's the second Saturday of November is our small press day. Small press is when anybody in the community that grows olives can harvest their olives and bring it to us at Nature's Touch Nursery and Harvest on the corner of 3rd and Main Street, starting at 8 o'clock. We will press your olives into olive oil. You got to make sure that you don't have any fruit fly damage, frost damage. You got to farm it a little bit, right?
Because it's all going in together. So.
And why am I talking about this now? Is because now is the time. There you go. There's my flyer in November 15th. We start at 8 o'clock, first come, first serve. But this is the time where we start to talk about this and really start planning this. Yes, I put the date out there. We got the mill going. We got everybody's insurance. The resources are there to be able to do this. But as a community, I'm going to really start pressing this now because we need to educate most people on what a fruit fly looks like, what fruit fly damage is, and to understand that is pretty much one of the only things that would get you turned away in a community press.
Yeah.
Why? Because the fruit fly, female, lays her eggs inside unripened fruit. Once that egg starts to form or mature, it rots the fruit inside the fruit. And you'll see in the way of a discoloration, but a lot of the times the fruit's immunity is fighting so hard to get rid of that parasite, realistically, that it's happening inside that fruit, that you don't necessarily see it until if you've got a trained eye to look for it, cut a couple pieces of fruit open to see if there is rot inside that fruit. With that rot being inside that fruit, that is what's going to get you turned away because running fruit through our mill contaminates it when it's not rotten for everybody. Yeah. This is a community press, right? We got to get our community all on the same page, know what to look for.
Sharing the cost, making it happen. It's a beautiful thing, but
doing it, but at the same time, we need
to
start talking about this now because
good.
I feel sad when people start picking, the day before and they bring it all in proud of their harvest, get into the parking lot and they go through their first inspection and say, I'm sorry, we can't take it. And then, oh my goodness, what do I do with it? You know, some of the guys that are there will say, "Oh, take it to the dump," because it can't. You can't just put that out because you don't want that fruit fly to multiply,
Yeah.
right? You don't want, and they will overwinter if you don't treat.
Yeah.
So you can't just go and spread this out. You can't
Yeah.
just
You can't bring it home.
you can't bring it home,
take it
you know.
anywhere else.
And so it's understanding, you know, the damage that it causes, and it's understanding how important it is to start inspecting now. You know, there is still treatments that we can do that would prevent the fruit fly damage, but we're getting close, right? Here we are in September, November
months,
is the
exactly.
Yes, this cooler weather it's warm enough but cool enough. This is going to be the time that is going to really indicate, are you capable of understanding how important paying attention to your crop, whether it be 1 tree, 10 trees, 30 trees, or 3,000 trees. Is understanding how important it is that just because you're not maybe doing it for a living, but it's important to pay attention to it now, because we don't want, like I keep saying, we don't want that fruit fly to continue to rise in population. For all of us that farm olives, we don't want to have to. If we can start getting a handle on things like the fruit fly
Outbreaks and
the
stuff, yeah.
outbreaks, and realistically, it's picking the fruit off the trees, not allowing the fruit trees, the olives to rot on the tree, not dropping into the soil and letting the constant reproduction of that problem. You know, cleanliness is so incredibly important.
Yeah, we were talking
in
about that
all
last
kinds
week,
of
right?
farming.
Yeah.
Yes, and so it goes that way with olive trees.
Yeah, I think so. Just getting the consumers on that page, like we were talking about with the chicken ladies, it was really, you know, how not to spread disease, and with people that are just sort of, you know, bringing in some of this extra, you know, maybe harvest they're just starting to, you know, do in their, you know, spare time, or, you know, starting to really bring some of those resources around. I think that people do have to realize that, you know, it's a year round, you know, thing. You can't
there isn't anything that I know that in growing food.
There's no such thing as no maintenance.
No.
And that's what people like, even with the landscape, people are like, oh, hey, how can I get no maintenance? Like, we can get, sure, low maintenance, but it's like every season you got to go out there and you got to treat your trees or feed your trees or prune your trees or plant, you know, new things. And so, you know, I really love right now, we're picking so much food out of all of the summer gardens, and, you know, the ocean's bountiful and everything that's going, you know, it's that really sweet time of year where the weather's nice and things are pumping. But it's like, that's because of all the prep and time we put ahead to get to that point and be able to do that. So, you know, it's really great to see the harvest coming off. And
it's crazy because I say this all the time. Me as a farmer, I'm thinking 3 months in advance, 6 months in advance, you know, or November.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this is what's going to happen next week is going to happen. I can do a little bit, but realistically, happen because I'd already planned for it.
Yeah.
You
or
know,
get those treatments in, like we said, so that you can be ready for November. So,
or
yeah,
have more
definitely
tools
getting
in your
ahead.
toolbox, miss a step that you're able to
Yeah.
have backup to be able to get you out of that, you know, get out of jail free card in a sense, you know. And that's as an organic farmer. Okay. And I'm sad about calling myself an organic farmer, because the definition of organic nowadays doesn't really justify what it originally used to stand for, right? You know, now it means in the grocery store, it just means premium. It just means that you're paying to play. You're not realistically getting
It was a cause
something
that really I know fought for, and like we all wanted to see these things happen. And now it definitely is, you know, sort of a little bit, I'm going to say taken for granted, but just sort of.
It's premium. It's like when you go to the gas station, you got 3 choices of fuel grades.
Are you going to go there
You know,
or not?
organic is going to supposedly give you a higher premium, where, you know, your lower octane is not going to give you the boost that organic is supposed to give you.
But the things that it represents, I don't think are all so visible anymore. The economic, social, environmental benefits.
No, and it's all about paying to play. That's all this is about. It's trace and trackability and paying to play. And with that, even though I still consider myself, the best way to describe myself is an organic farmer, but what is my definition? Is looking at it, my whole farm or my business as a whole, not one here, one there. How does everything play in a symbiotic system?
Yes.
Full circle effect.
Yeah, because the animals are going to come and play with the foods, and, you know, how everything goes back and forth.
Safety, animals can't be anywhere near. You're going to farm something that somebody might eat raw.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's also if you're going to farm like this, it isn't just apply something or, oh, somebody said I'm just going to do this. You got to smell it. You got to sense it. You got to feel it. You got to know it. And did I know what I know now? No. But at the same time, when I first started, I didn't have all of this. When I first started. So I became familiar with it. And then where I'm going with this is you can have one olive tree in your yard, right? You planted or you bought a property that has this olive. It's still there and it's still yours. And we still got to maintain it and we got to manage it because, olive trees are those trees that do become, if you don't pick them, they become messy and they become, if you walk across where those rotten olives are and you trample that fluid everywhere, that stain is not coming off, right?
Yeah.
And so olives are that easy way to say, if you don't maintain it, it's going to become a problem, right? So you got to maintain this tree. And that's where this community press has really come to appreciate what it is because there's nowhere else in the world that we know of, and the people that I get to play with are pretty active throughout the whole entire world, that has a mobile press that can come down to downtown Templeton and you as a backyard or a community or a small farm and have access to this mill.
Yeah.
This mill was created by Clotilde and Eves, who were the original owners of Alea Olive Oil. They had a vision and they had the energy to put behind this vision in creating a mobile press. And here we are many, many moons later and still having access. Yes, these presses, there's 3 of them, I think now, go out into the community. If you're harvesting over a ton, you can have the mill at your own location. But anything under a ton, you can come and have it pressed at Nature's Touch Nursery and Harvest. So, there's a lot to be said about that big parking lot and what we could do in that big parking lot and still being an unincorporated area of our county, which, agriculture rules in unincorporated areas. And so that's what, that second Saturday in November, November 15th, starting at 8 o'clock, like I said, first come, first serve, bring your olive harvest to us. But guess what? If you're feeling like all this information that I gave you about the fruit fly is a little bit too much, you have access to me. You can contact me. Either you can contact us through our website at naturesneighbor.net. There's a contact link there on that website now where it comes directly to us. Or you can reach me on my cell phone, which you can just Google Nature's Neighbor, Nature's Touch Nursery and Harvest, and guess what? It gives you my cell phone number. Ask all the spam calls I get. They know how to get my number. So, it's I can help you, bring me, contact me first. Let me know that it's coming. But you can harvest a little bit of your fruit, pick a branch, pick one that has a good amount of fruit on it. Put it in a bag, Ziploc bag, seal it, name and phone number, bring it to Nature's Touch Nursery and Harvest in Templeton. I will inspect it and give you an overall view of that tree. If you have multiple trees, bring me harvest from a couple of different ones. I can say, a percentage wise, it looks like you have it or it doesn't look like you have it. Will I give you an exact? No, because I'm not at your farm or location where that tree is being grown. You want me to come out
everything
there,
going on, yeah.
If you want me to come out and give you directly from the source, I can do that as well. You have to hire me for that one though. But I'd be happy to be hired to come out and look at your olive tree or look at your tomato plants or whatever you have going on your farm, backyard, community. I can help. So you can reach out to me any way you can, and I will respond. So there's a lot going on, and as you know, it's this time of the year. It sounds like all of us have been going 100 miles an hour in a circle, right? Sometimes we get straight lined ahead. We're moving ahead. Sometimes we just keep spinning. But keeping on spinning is this whole symbiotic community system. Is this coming up Sunday is our Central Coast Fancy Feathers poultry sale. Yes, last Monday.
Next time we're going to be in the parking lot
Tina
at Nature's Neighbor.
And Sarah were here last week with us promoting that event and talking about their group or their club. I'm excited because it sounds like it's going to be pretty popular. You're going to be able to come into Nature's Touch. You know, I'm going to put it out there because I know people are listening right now. Guys, don't plan on parking front row, right? We have ways.
Well, the street's blocked off. The main street's going to be a mess.
Not at Third Street, not at our driveway. It's going to be up the street.
It's going to be a lot of activity,
but there's going to be a lot of activity. It's supposed to be beautiful. It's supposed to be slightly warm, not hot. Park away. Come and hang out and be a part of the community. You know, we have people that if you buy a bunch of chickens, we'll be able to get your car close enough to be able to put the chickens in the car for you. We're going to do all of that. So park away from the property. Walk into Templeton. Guys, there's only 8 streets in Templeton. So park away and walk.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a whole community day, I know, right? So fundraising.
Yeah, there's
you know,
going to be
granary
Templeton Rotary, which I'm a Rotarian. I'm going to promote for them as well. We're going to be doing hamburgers and hot dogs right on 4th Street. So where the Sotheby's Realty and Remax Realty offices are, we're going to be set up right there in the street. So I'm going to be in like 5 places at once, you know, that day. But
Magic.
You know, we have a huge group of people that are going to be participating. And, you know, we're going to be talking about what Rotary is. We're going to have sign-up sheets if you want to become a Rotarian. A Rotarian is putting community before self. You know, this is, I mean, I could give you our whole pledge, but realistically, what is a Rotarian? A Rotarian is a community member that puts community before self. So
that's a beautiful way to put it. Yeah,
it is. And that's why.
Yeah, I worked with a lot of Rotary groups and Kiwanis and so many people.
You need to become a Templeton Rotary member.
I want to come up to Templetown. Yeah, I've been to some other ones.
We have a fun group. We put on the Templeton 4th of July parade. We do a bunch of different things. And there's a bunch of new members. Our goal this year, you know, every year we put goals. Our goal this year is to invite more youth. And it's crazy because youth has become a main topic in our world lately. Finally, I mean, you know me. I've been, you know, everything about youth. Why am I farming, or why am I being an educator or an activist?
If not for the next generation.
If not for the next generation, right?
Right. Yeah.
Why am I not living by an example that I would want my next generation
to garden,
carry
sort of
on,
to believe in the future, they say.
And we've become that society where we put our children into institutions and expect that institution to educate our children. Where I've lived a different life than that, and so I've raised my children, or children that have been in my presence have also been raised differently. And I'm not saying my way is right. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying my heart leads before my brain, and so sometimes the brain catches up with the heart, and then I go, "Oh my God, what did I do?" But at the same time, I'm not perfect.
You're modeling things.
Yeah, I'm not perfect, but I'm also that person that is, why aren't all of us stopping for a minute and taking more time and checking on our youth? And talking to our youth and communicating with what we've built, our pros and our cons that we've weighed out, right? Or what has worked and what has not. I keep telling my children, you know, I've already invented this wheel. Your grandma has invented this wheel. Your great-grandmas have already had this wheel. Why are we trying to reinvent a wheel that has already been rolling? It is our responsibility in our generation to add more tread to that tire. Not sit here and think we need to create a whole new wheel.
Yeah, I just like saying passing the torch. You know, I had my youngest with me yesterday, and we went and harvested all kinds of food. So I went to my friend's farm. We went to some other farms and places we'd done, and the best highlight of the day was we're at a friend's, you know, place like, I want a really big, you know, garden, you know, at my house when I grow up, you know, I want to have that, you know. So it was just like, we have to be able to bring the youth through. And I loved having my kids from age 0, pretty much, you know, my 8-month-old daughter pointed at sour grass one time in the yard. I was like, okay, here you go, baby. Mm-hmm. She turns it over and eats it. And I was like, that's it. You're doing it.
So funny because Cody, we'll go on hikes, right? And sometimes people are with us, some people aren't. My kid always has something he's chewing on,
Yeah,
right?
I love
And
that
it's like
to me
there's
too.
weeds hanging out of his mouth,
Yeah.
right? What is a weed? A plant that has been misplaced.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because people are like, Cody, what do you have in your mouth? Well, and he's like,
Well, they're mostly
"It's
edibles
grass.
that
It's
followed
grass." He's
past
like,
cultures around.
He's like, you go hiking with my mom, you're hungry, here, eat this.
Yeah.
And it's become that, and or
Yeah.
he, always had the oat grass that's hollow in the center and shooting out this, he always had a weapon
Yeah.
of some sort.
I like fennel's
right?
one of my favorite to chew on.
Oh yeah, and I mean,
Yeah.
but again, having a mother as a botanist, has been very beneficial to my children.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this is what I've always dreamed, and I'm not expecting everybody to know every plant, what's safe and what's
Well,
not.
you're passing on what you know.
But
it
I
doesn't matter what
learned
it
from
is.
a community.
Yeah.
I didn't learn on my own. I didn't go to college and read a book. I learned
Yeah.
this from the community
And touching it and experiencing it
and that's
yourself
what,
too.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, as a Templeton Rotarian and as somebody that is excited about our outlook on our group and inviting more youth to become a part of our group, but in honor of them, right? But in honor
Yeah.
of them, of all of us and the multi-generations that we have a part of Templeton Rotary, to teach them, also to
Yeah.
share with them, but also to invite them in protection and to invest in them. And
Yeah.
be able
Everyone
to,
has a role in that,
Everyone has a role in
You're
that.
either the teacher, the student, and it goes back and forth. And we really need to have youth success. I work with a lot of groups that are starting to just call it that. That's what they want to promote. How do we get the kids moving out, from sort of that, youth age into adulthood with the most tools or most, kind of support they can have, and really putting their hands to something. And yeah, if we're not passing it on, what's going to happen to it? And that's a huge thing with we talked about it, ages of farmers getting higher and higher, and farmland shrinking and so many solutions that need to come to the forefront if we're really going to, create a good foundation for our communities through food, through, farming, through our actions with the environment and each other. So I think, yeah, really it's a great theme to kind of point on how are we interfacing with the next generation, because you could kind of, write them off. Some people are like, oh, they're lazy or they're they're not going to do it. It's like, how does anyone get a chance to even put their hand to it or know what they want to do or how to get involved?
Fear comes from not knowing, right?
Sure,
And
sure.
the sad thing is okay, so the next generation that might fear work, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, when you have a 13, 14, 15 and up that is afraid to go to work,
Yeah.
or somebody that doesn't want to do chores or doesn't have chores,
Yeah.
like I don't understand that, and my children would never understand that.
Yeah, I think it's.
But at the
I'm
same
sure it
time,
happens. I don't
why
know
do
it
they
either.
fear that? Because they weren't taught that. They
Yeah.
weren't given that. And why are they afraid?
And then
of
that means they don't know how to
discipline?
cook for themselves. They might not know what food is. I mean, it just kind of is a snowball. If
Exactly.
they're not really gaining those skills early and practicing or just pretending. Like I loved when my kids would even pretend they're making food, as little kids, or just getting out in the yards or learning things, harvesting. I think that's where it really, builds skills for the future, because they understand, just that you're going to need to provide,
Yep.
for
And
yourself in
it's-
some way, somehow.
It's crazy because I'm just gonna go here because, with Templeton Rotary being asked to participate in this fundraiser for the Templeton Feed and Grain. It's, the whole organization is putting this on with hopes to generate money for a trust account that will then, the family of Templeton Feed and Grain will have access to it to be able to help aid in their rebuild
Recovering the new-
and I can't say rebuild,
Yeah.
the restructuring
Sure.
of their company.
Yeah.
And so, understanding that, but at the same time, we're talking about all these fundraisers and these events and all that we're doing, but we cannot deny what we already know. And what we already know is that there was a minor who did this horrible, arson,
Stupid
fire,
act. Yeah.
stupid act
Yeah.
that brought down the Templeton Feed and Grain and youth, right? Accountability starts with the person who's responsible for whoever's taking a tax return for that child has to be responsible to
First
some
and
extent
foremost, yeah.
of this. And at the same time, as a community member and as somebody that wants to put community first, and I do before self, right? As a Rotarian, I do. But we have to be preventative instead of reactive, right? Like we're looking back at this situation and going, there needs to be an accountability.
All I can think about is when we were talking about 4th of July coming up and you're like, people, please, this year, let's not get out of hand. And, it didn't get checked. And now we have a huge, kind of turnover of this, iconic,
and everybody wants to talk
structure
about
in business.
banning,
And,
ready for this? They want to talk about banning illegal fireworks.
yeah.
Banning illegal fireworks. Say this over in your head. Banning illegal fireworks. They're already illegal.
Yeah.
Anything
already
that
pulled
launches was illegal.
How about know where your kid is?
Yes.
How about, hey, you know what? Don't burn anything down tonight. Like, hey, talk to them.
Yeah.
Understand what.
We all have teenagers, Josh. You and I both know that at times I'm not going to know where my children are
They're
at all
stupid,
times.
yeah.
And they're times of dumb.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I always wanted to treat other children like I wanted my children to be taught.
Sure.
And treated. Yes, I know at times my own child did a lot of, children. I even had to introduce Miguel to my Queen of the Brat child that walked in today that wanted to see Mom's studio. She was being bratty because, Mom, I gotta go, that kind of attitude. And I'm like, really, child? I have to stop for you. You can stop and be patient and let's do this. But at the same time, that's how I treat my children, right? Like
that's how we treat that age group, right?
Right? Accountability.
Yeah, anyone that age,
time.
we would hold them to a standard.
I also wanted my children to go out into the community and be held accountable to people who had good intents in the accountability.
Yeah.
I didn't want my children to go to somebody else's house that would allow a minor to drink.
Yeah.
I'm not that. I was never that person.
Yeah.
I would not allow my children to have alcohol with friends. We have alcohol in our home, but I would never allow children to have alcohol
standards that
in
we can
my
agree
home.
on, like we've talked about.
Exactly. And it was crazy to me how
normalcy.
different I was because of that. And just something like that, accountability for our youth, and, just because they're a youth and they're going to do it, does it make it right to give it to them? Yes, our children are going to be bad behaved. We know this at times. But where is our boundaries? If there was discipline and there was structure and there was accountability, there would be my children would be less likely to be bad behaved because they're going to get caught. My famous story of my bratty child of mine was they were doing, an event and they were all high school brat children in Templeton and the sheriff caught them. And the sheriff was asking each one of them what they were up to, where they were from. And, my child thought it would be funny to take it upon himself and say, officer, if you're going to make me call and make my mom come, can you just take me with you? He would have rather gone with the sheriff's department than he would have to come to his own mother.
Yeah.
And again, fear, right? Fear is the unknown, right? But Cody knew there was going to be accountability for his actions. There was going to be consequences for his bad choices. What were they? More chores, less free time, it was, paying your dues.
Time to sit and think. Yeah,
paying your dues for the time that you took.
So you don't have more time to go do stupid things. Because that's what it really is, that cycle. And with youth, it's really great. When we worked a lot with City Repair from Portland, Oregon, and they would talk about painting the intersections in their neighborhoods and taking over the right of way and creating stages or creating, whatever it was. It could have been, a little free library, a tea station, some way that the community was involved in that public space again. And they would do weddings, they would do different events. But, the kids don't want to deface the property like where their grandparents are also going or their parents are walking. And so I've really loved that model there where it's like education is a good authority, or having signage.
And education should be an
or
authority.
Things, right? Like, knowing that there is someone watching out and that if you want to try something stupid, go ahead and see what happens. If you get caught, when you get caught, and what consequences there are. And that's where, we really have to do that for our generations. I think that, all of us, like I'm an uncle as well as a dad. So, I have,
Me too.
So many kids in our own family or just kids that I've taught or, work with in different capacities. I'm going to make sure that this kid's not going to go hurt himself or, hurt someone else just because, their parents are there as someone that's, that legally, responsible for them. We all are looking out for each other because I don't want kids to get hurt in my neighborhood. No. I wouldn't want someone to let my kid get hurt in the neighborhood.
And there's been situations in our lives that have been where you see things as a spectator, not necessarily spectating your own children, but spectating for other people's children. And you don't know what to do at times as a parent, right? As a parent of my child, how do I help that child? Yeah. How do I get to that parent to help that parent recognize that child is struggling?
Yeah, where do you go? Do you go to the child? Do you go to the parent? Do you go to...
So having a sit-down conversation with my 3, I have my 2 that I gave birth to and 1 that is living in our home still. We had this conversation because my son, Cody, is 23, just had his birthday. He is a Templeton Rotarian. Why did he want to become a Rotarian? Mom was, he always tells me he needs a T-shirt that says I've been voluntold. But at the same time, he was like, he liked what it stood for. He liked working, the Templeton 4th of July parade. He liked,
standing up, the values.
Standing up and going and getting dirty with all the elders that are part of the Rotary group.
Community building.
He loves working with Tom German, Templeton Feed and Grain, and Rex Swan. He loves working with he loves working with them. So it was a natural thing for him to, and then I am, and he was like, "Mom, I want to do this." I'm like, "Okay, but." When I said, okay, guys, so here we are on a new year. You guys are, Cody's a member, Savannah. We were talking about this. I said, our motivation in our Templeton group is, how to entice and invite more youth to be a part of it. Not just to come and do the work, but I want to hear from them. Like, what do they want? But yet I'm going to hear from the youth because I'm going to go out there and do this. But I first need to have this conversation with you guys at home. And all 3 of them, it was simultaneous and it was overwhelming in them. And their biggest thing was they don't feel in their generation that they have a place where they can go and have fun. But then I said, define what is fun. And for them, it's completely different than the next group and the next group. Some want video games. Some want a place that they can go hang out and do adult things, but be minors. Someone, Cody would like, high speed motors and a racetrack. Yeah. Savannah wants a horse track. You know what I mean? And I'm, we started talking about this and I said, okay, that's your fun. How do we bring community fun into this? And be able to provide a location. Maybe we look at the 20-year-old groups, but then we look at the teen groups and we look at the adolescent groups. And then we started talking about the legalities and the liabilities and all of that when it comes to, gathering, groups of this youth. Then I said, okay, well then how about we bring a parent participation? And then all 3 of my children, well, you just put that out the window. That isn't going to happen. And it's crazy because in all the things, like I started looking back in my notes. I tried to form a teen center. I've tried to form a mental health center. I've tried, there's been this, momentum of things that I've been a part of in the last 25 years. And it's crazy because the biggest fundamental roadblock was parent participation. They only showed up in controversy and chaos.
Not standing accountable.
They wouldn't show up if it was something that they had to be responsible for.
Yeah.
And then it became I'll just drop them off. I don't have time for this. I need my time.
And what is that modeling? Like, and now,
what is that modeling? Exactly. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm here. I have 3 businesses and a job and a farm and a husband and animals that need to be fed. I don't have that excuse.
I understand it.
Yeah. I've homeschooled my children and it was my choice. It wasn't that I was pressured in by religion or structure of any other sorts. It was my choice.
Yeah.
And, and I got criticism big time by doing that because this was before COVID. I wasn't cool then. I was one of those mothers, right? And I mean, I even got that from he was retired and then brought back principal who was getting food at a neighboring business of my retail business. And he asked, is your son going to go to Templeton? I'm like, well, actually he's homeschooled. And he goes, oh, He's a principal. Oh, he's one of those. What do you mean one of those? Oh, pot smoking, gonna hang out and, not go to school. My son was in elementary school, and he didn't realize I knew who
growing
he
up
was,
on a farm and
right? And you know what I said?
working every day.
He probably won't smoke pot because his mother does plenty of that. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I answered it, because I was teaching my children, yes, I do this, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
And I don't do it to abuse it. I do it and I use it as medicine. But this is not something that I use to cope or cop out or
run away from
it. And I will never forget that principle.
It's a herb you should take in your diet.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm so glad you're retired. Yeah. And then he looked at me and he looked at me shocked. And I did get a letter of apology, not only from him, but also from the other teacher/nurse of our school district that was with him at the same time and was mortified about what he was saying.
Yeah.
And so
he was jaded or tired, it sounds like, or maybe he just became to that
cool.
point.
Yeah, he thought he was cool.
Well, to stereotype people is, we know that's not going to work out. And then it's not taking full accountability for what's going on in your community. Like, those kids, really are getting whatever kind of, diverse interests we can give them. And then we do school on top. Like you're saying, I don't expect the schools to teach my kids whatever. I take my kids where, I'm going to, be, or where I want them to be. We're, like I said, picking food yesterday, making food. We're, doing things with the family and doing things that's the first and foremost line of, education in my eyes, is really being able to take your kids with you and do things together that they can learn from your model, and then you can share.
But the sad thing is like, I don't expect everyone to be like us, right? You don't need to do it all,
everyone has different
but at the same
interests.
time,
Yeah.
Like, why is it okay though to like have that excuse of that cop out? But why aren't we more open or inviting to the fact that, okay, I don't expect you to be able to do it all. We're a community. If you need me, reach out to me.
Yeah.
You want to drop your kids off because you're feeling like they have too much energy and you don't have enough? Let them hang out with me. I got plenty of chores.
There's eggs that can be picked up. There's something.
We're gonna move bales of hay. That doesn't get enough energy out of these kids. Okay,
yeah.
Like, we're gonna rake. We're gonna pull
top.
weeds.
Yeah.
We're gonna and it doesn't even have to be at mine. I'll come over and do it at your house. But at the same time, be welcoming to the fact. I'm saying I was very lucky because I had a core group of friends and family that when I was tired, I had backup.
Yeah,
my husband is my sole backup, right? And, but at the same time, I liked at times when I would say, Mom, I'm tired and Savannah has a week's worth of homeschool work because we've been lazy and not doing it. My mom would step in, or my father-in-law would step in, or a really good friend who ended up being their homeschool teacher. When I would be like, Doña Callahan, we have been slacking. I'll be honest with you. I'm not disciplined enough this week. And she's like, okay, we have open room day. Let them kids come in. We'll get them caught up. Like, this is a community, right? Why don't we have more of this? And why...
Yeah, how do we ask for each other for help? Yeah,
right?
And how do we show that vulnerability when we can't do what we need to be doing? And that's just such a good question, because I think, like you're saying, it's sad to see where people maybe are copping out of really accountability and responsibility for their own kids, let alone other people's kids, and saying, hey, let me take, these kids somewhere. And so I think there are, like I said, people starting to recognize that, groups starting to realize things need to go beyond the institutions. And I think that's the change in America that's really big. I mean, we've talked about a lot of national politics, right, in this point of view that we've shared, but that is where any nation needs to have its building blocks, really stable to put good things on top of. If we put weight on top of a shaky foundation, it starts to crumble. And I think that we really need to look at that. We don't need to be passing the buck or saying that it's they or them or other people that are causing issues or problems. Look at where are you able to take accountability and responsibility, within yourself, your family, your home, and then your community. And we've really talked about building that up. And I think that, we need to find ways that we can share. I mean, that's what's really great about sharing. We have a community press day coming up that you shared. We have a community fundraiser and just, event day. We have the chicken show. We have all these things happening. You know, I have a farm event I'm going to be speaking at soon. I think we might have a flyer for we could talk to in the next couple of weeks. But just anything that we can go and start to gather. And I think that's where it really starts. The food events we've been doing, that was the main draw, was like, how do we get people together and then enjoying something that they need, food, sustenance, you know, good time, you know, conversation, and then really see where we go from there. And I think that that's the stock we need to take. And same with the consumers and people that are just kind of putting things on to, you know, us as the producers, or like you said, we're willing and open. Like, come with your questions, come with your interests. You need me to come see something? Both of us are really willing to go do that for people and consult,
I'm that person that is like, if I don't have the answer, let's find somebody that does.
But we have a network that we can push on. We're not saying that we have it, right? Don't call me just because you think I'm going to have the end all be all. But it's like, oh, let me connect you where you need to go. And I think that's what's beautiful about growing up here. Like we said, we have networks and communities that we can really lean on. Like yesterday, yeah, we started, you know, I wanted to pickle all this food that we had growing, and I wanted to make dinner for everybody. It's like, great. My mom, my daughter, everyone stepped in, and we were doing like 5 things at once last night in the same kitchen space. So much fun.
And that's honestly like what we did.
By the end of the night, we produced everything that needed to be produced.
So Saturday was my husband's birthday, right?
Oh,
we have another family that lives on the ranch with us. And it's kind of fun because Cody starts September. So Cody's birthday was September 10th. Clint's is the 13th. Cipriano's.
Time to celebrate.
And then Mercedes, right? It's like we have all these people in September. And it is so much fun because it's like with no thought into it. I farm the food. I bring the food, right? And their daughters get together. They're making homemade tortillas, and you know, they had to make lengua. Even though I'm Mexican, I still struggle with eating lengua. Okay,
on the plancha, that's what's up. Get it on the plancha, nice and crispy.
I think it's the gringa in me that still struggles with the whole lengua, and I still can't do menudos. I'm sorry, my grandpa scared me. He told me things that I shouldn't probably have known about menudos, and that's why I can't do it.
But I love offal. I love eating me some tripas. There's
nothing better than the homemade tortillas.
I was eating some heart this weekend. We had some deer heart for some hunting.
Yeah, no, I'm not there. Okay, so I can see, and even when I cook wild game, I can smell the vervain. I can smell what
good
that
brine. Get a good brine in there.
I know, but I can still see. Look what happens when I eat local. Okay, but so with all of that, so like this is who we are, right? Like they come into our home, and I have my 3 hooligans, my husband, their family, my grandma, my mother-in-law, and it was not anything planned. It's just everybody knows there's an open door, right?
I love it. Same thing at our house last night.
We just communicate and we put it there, and it's like I don't want to plan events. I just want to have gatherings. I want to have, and I have to tell you how fulfilling that feeling is to share that with a different family, but you know, we're all the same. We're all working. We're all just trying to be better. We're all just, you know, trying to show our children structure and boundaries. I mean,
good models.
It became a discussion of discipline. You know, Genesis and Iris, who work for me at Nature's Touch, we start talking about, you know, the rules and regulations that they have in their home with their father and mother. My kids started sharing rules and regulations, and it became is that a Hispanic thing? You know, like, I'm like, well, my grandma used to pinch, you know, so we don't.
Are you getting the chocolate too?
Yeah, we can make sure we all have. But hey, it was so much fun to have that conversation with 20-year-olds and how, you know,
how they saw it
in their teens, because there's Iris, who's still a teen.
Sure.
You know, how fearful it was, right? But yet now that they're in their 20s, how much they actually respect it. Yeah. You know, and how much it's helped them grow as individuals to be able to handle what is coming at them. They would have never thought that in their teens. And in high school, they were told, and in elementary, they were told that it isn't okay to be that disciplined. What do you mean your dad doesn't let you go to football games or dances or this or that? Or why does your mom have to know where you are at all times? Or why doesn't your mom let you drink? You know, like why, you know, they were getting those questions constant and ridiculed. But yet, because we had rules and regulations, and how the push and the pull of our rules and regulations and the pull from the influence in schools was hard. But now looking back, how important the structure at home really was. Important.
No, structure is
who they are. And
really interesting. That, you know, I have a good quote on that. I was saying how, you know, structure allows for the expression of creativity. And I got that out of the one page I read in the middle of an ADHD book when someone recommended I should look. But
Were they self-diagnosing you, Josh?
they just said you might get something out of this book. So I read one page in the middle. I was like, oh, that one page really said it all for me. And I had never really looked at it that way because I did like to have, I appreciate, discipline and earnestness and hard work and all these things, but also just that freedom of creativity and expression. But you need that structure to be a foundation for that. And so same thing with kids. And I tell people this with plants all the time.
All the time.
With pruning,
There's
right?
Nothing different.
I'm like, if you want your plant to mature into a well-adjusted adult plant, then you need to give it a good framework on which to grow. And so pruning is right. Discipline and some of those actions, even though they're hard to do, confrontation
doesn't get you there.
Yeah, right. Like, are you going to put it into a box and it's never going to bloom? Or are you going to let it, kind of free form each year? And then you give it a good foundation so that it can grow upon. So, like I said, just my daughter saying that she wants to farm or garden when she grows up is like, that was everything for me yesterday.
Have her come live at the Blinkenships for a week.
Yeah,
we did. She still wants that.
Yeah, well, they've had animals for a long time. They live on about 40 acres, No, I'm
saying try to make a living in it.
Yeah, we'll see where they go with that. They're both doing food stuff right now, which is great.
So awesome.
Yeah.
And I remember when the first time I saw them and they were little.
Yeah.
And now you're talking about like they're almost adults. And
driving and graduate, all the things.
You've known me when my babies were babies. And
yeah.
It's like, it's crazy how fast. And again, we only get this time once, Josh. And
you only have that childhood once. You only get that framework once. So if we don't speak up now or we don't do things for our community now, it's like it's not going to happen.
But the community actually needs to reach out and be accountable to the two.
And we need places to do it. That's why I love we're going to be in the streets on Sunday.
We can't keep just having an excuse. Oh yeah, that's them, or oh they don't have the means, or oh there's always an excuse or a way to enable.
Yeah, everyone can do it.
And I know, and it's okay if you can't. This is what I'm saying. There's perfect amount of able bodies in this community that can step in and help, that don't need to control or don't have to, push you aside to help, there's a way to balance it.
Yeah. And not everybody has to do all of it if we share that load. I mean, that's the thing with again, the community press or anything community based. Mm-hmm. Then that way we know we don't all have time to do this. So if we give a little bit that we know we can, then, it's going to allow for the next step to, be reached by the next neighbor.
Yeah. And then just like how you said, the structure of plants, that good foundation, people don't realize the soil is that life, right? I keep repeating this over and over. The soil is the life. That is your
what you get above ground is
your cardio.
Only what's
that's
in
your
the ground.
Endocrine system. That is everything about that life of the plant. Everything above it is reproductive. So when you're growing plants, when the next generation is going to be messed up because you don't have a good foundation,
nutrient base,
right?
Yeah.
And at the same time, us humans are the same.
Yeah,
we are what we stand on.
Yes.
And Wendell Berry, right? You are what you stand on. That's I just quoted my favorite author. So
/ rapper.
Wendell Berry is like the man of when you sit there and go as a farmer, why, what, and how did I get here? And you open a book or you look at a scene from Wendell Berry and you're like, oh, okay. And you can keep going, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, that is where, as a community, what do we want our futures to be? Our future in life, our future in business, our future in resources, our future in, my famous saying that I used to tell my parents when I was being ornery was, you treat your children as you want to be treated as elderly adults. Right now, you're going to a rest home back east. What are we doing here? My mom and dad would be like, "Oh my gosh," But that was my saying, and sadly, my
you
mom
get what you put out, you reap what you sow. All these things.
I would go to the ends of the earth to have her back, but I still have my mother-in-law who lives on the same property with us, and
you have the framework she left you with.
I wouldn't trade the everything that goes on with having family living amongst family. And I don't expect everybody to be able to do this. I don't. But if you could give it a try and give it a moment, and know that there's going to be moments of trials and tribulations that you're going to ask yourself, why, how, and what the heck do I do now? And I have that all the time. But I'm sorry, I'm just going to go here. Just like in my marriage, 26 years of marriage, 34 years together. Has it always been peachy keen and coming up roses?
Have you had to prune some things?
Oh, I've had to prune a lot, and he has too. I drive him crazy because I'm constantly thinking, I'm constantly wanting to do something or this or that, or,
Can this come home with me?
Yeah, well, just quiet, and she doesn't need to know about all the animals, and my daughter, she came in the studio earlier and she's so I look at her and I can't at times believe she's mine, but then she talks. I'm like, oh, she's mine. Somebody goes, she's brought a pony home and somebody asked her, what is your dad going to think? Savannah, you're just going to bring it home? And she's like, why ask what you already know? Just ask for forgiveness later, and it's like, and I look at her, I'm like, oh, that might have been
that
something
lesson
came from her mother, and my, Clint would be like, seriously, is that what I am? Is you just don't tell me? We're like, honey, there's these. He goes, I know you guys know the line. And you know the line to not cross. And it becomes too much. And it's the funniest thing because he is the one that's like, enough. He doesn't want any more. But who do all the animals go to? Who do the animals love the most?
Daddy.
Exactly. So
Daddy provides, that's why
our animals know how to play it too. So I'm just grateful for the duration that we've had, right? And I look forward to 50 more years with him. But at the same time, it's work.
Yeah.
And that is what all this is. It's work for our community, work for our family, work for my business, work for survival, work to be a better person, work to invest into what I want to be carried on to, right? Why am I building what I'm building or putting out or going to work every day if I can't have my family be a part of it in somehow or another?
Supported or cared for. And I think, that's really where we're at. We need to, all be accountable for what we want and then have everyone meet us alongside of that, and really, go forward together. And I think it's so great in our communities, this way where, neighbors, can help neighbors and, so many families, really are there for each other. And the backdrop is really, the harvest. And the season, every season, has that backdrop of, okay, we're getting together because we need to process all this food, or this is the season we all want to enjoy this. I made ceviche for everybody from all the fish that we, speared this weekend. And then all the other foods we had.
What kind of fish?
A lot of lingcod, rock cod, perch. We were up in Big Sur, spearfishing in Montagne d'Oro and in Avila. And, so, but it was really okay, I got to give some to my butcher buddies, and my auntie that cooks for me.
You're such a coastal boy. It's so funny because, my boys need to hang out with you because they would do in Savannah. They would do anything to have fish. I am not a coastal girl. I love to walk the beach.
Yeah.
But I don't eat that much from the ocean. And where I'm a carnivore.
Well, we had some deer, we had some venison, that we had, and then we had, a lot of fish. So we had, the fish collars we were eating. We were giving out the ceviche so we could go very far. And then we had some left over, so we did it with our piccata last night. So we did that with pasta.
Somebody asked my son the other day, he came home laughing about this because they're like, you guys must eat a lot of meat because of Creston Valley Meats. And, Creston Valley Meats is
and farming,
my
ranching.
second, and I farm all this. And she's like, you must eat a lot of meat, Cody. And he's like, well, moderate. My mom is very avid about, everything in moderation and seasonal, kind of thing. Yeah, complete meal. We don't eat the same thing over and over again. And, he goes like, I got one better. He goes, how about the fact that my mom was raised vegan vegetarian for 12 years out of her life? And they that completely took him back, right? And, he was telling him that, and I didn't get to explain the fact that I learned being vegan that I wasn't healthy just being that.
Yeah.
I needed a balance. But it's not just eating chicken breast. It's not just eating a ribeye steak.
Yeah.
It's everything in moderation. I still haven't added the menudos the lengua and the fish into the moderation yet. But
We'll get you.
You know,
We'll
I've
come
been
down.
very fortunate that I like everything else. So, you know, it's funny because, you know, again, it's just looking about where we're from, how blessed we really are that you and I can talk like we are, we can eat like we are, we can live, we can raise our children
Yeah.
the way we want. And yes, you and I can share it like it's natural and it's easy. But even in that, it's not all the time. And
we're not ones to talk about the toiling and the hard work, and we just do it, and we know that it's worth it at the end.
Yes.
And I think that that's where, you know, everybody puts their part in, and you're going to get something out of the whole. And I think that's what we want to see. And us that are pushing a little harder so that others can take part in it in some way is just who we are. You know, it just everyone is their own
sharing
person.
it. I mean, that's all it's about. So we kind of put out a lot today, you know, but again, reminding you this Sunday is the go for it. Templeton Feed and Grain fundraiser in downtown Templeton. But we have Central Coast Fancy Feathers doing their poultry sale. It's going to start at 8 o'clock at Nature's Touch Nursery and Harvest. You can Google it and you'll find our location, but it's on the corner of 3rd and Main Street in downtown Templeton. 8 streets in Templeton. I'm number 3. You know, so we have them. We're also going to have the Normac guys. They were a guest on our show talking about Nasamena Water.
Yeah.
They're looking for farmers that want to come and be a part of the conversation
Great.
about the dam, water, and all of that. So I said, come on out, put a booth up, and let's talk about it. Olea Farms is going to be with us at the fundraiser too, talking about their product, talking about the small press, which is November 15th, Saturday, second Saturday of November. That's when we bring all of your small harvest and we press it right there also in Nature's Touch Nursery and Harvest. I look forward to maybe even getting Blaze as a guest to be able to have her come on and talk about the farm event that you're going to be at.
Yeah, we're going to have our booth there with you this weekend.
Yep,
so Carmichael Environmental will be there,
Yes,
and we're happy to be part of that.
You're going to be in and out of my kitchen.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to put you in. I'm going to throw things at him. He's going to prepare it and come out and sample it.
Do
'Cause
something with that harvest. Let's get it.
We're a commercial kitchen, but also I have a surprise that is going to pop up in our little kitchen. We have a barista that is going to be utilizing the commercial kitchen. So she's going to be there at 8 with the poultry show.
Oh, great.
The fundraiser doesn't start until 10.
Okay.
So if you're an early person, you want to come see the poultry show, come join us. But just know that we're going to all be there all day long on Sunday. And, you know, just be in a community. Just, you know, come support. There's going to be a car show. There's a ton of things going on in downtown Templeton this coming up Sunday, September 21st. Like I said, park far away. It's okay to walk. There's not very many hills. You can just walk. I'm sure, too, that, you know, there's, you know, people will give you a ride closer that live there. You know, let's be a community, guys. Let's be kind. Yes, I did this at the 4th of July, before the 4th of July parade, too, didn't I? Be kind, be considerate, be patient, be a part of it, support.
And this time she means it.
Demand it. You know what? Demanding isn't going to get you anywhere anymore.
Yeah.
Not in Templeton.
Life is abundant right now. We're
Yep.
really celebrating all that harvest and taking care of our neighbors there and being good neighbors. So, yeah, all the events coming up, you know, we'll talk about more, I'm sure. So
Come and be
appreciate it.
supportive of Templeton Rotary. I will have membership applications at our booth, and so you can come join. We meet two times a month, Tuesday mornings. We meet at the new hotel called the Cambrian. So we, you know, have breakfast. We have a fun group, and we get to share, and we get to be a part
those
of.
are great meetings.
You want to learn about community. You want to be a part of a community. Join your
Try it
local
out. Find it.
Rotarian group. Yes, there's Rotary groups all over, but Templeton's this is the best. I'm just saying. But okay, so join us. Templeton Rotary, naturesneighbor.net. If you want to reach me to come out and help you with your olive harvest or any harvest, you know, you want to raise animals for your own food consumption, or you want to feed animals with your own harvest. You know, there's a lot that's going on. I'm excited to put this out there, and we'll talk more about it. I'm going to also probably have a guest. There's a raw food for pets symposium in San Diego, October 10th through the 12th. that Crescent Valley Meats has been invited
Oh, very
to.
cool.
So I'm going to have one of the board members of that group come on and be a guest and explain what we're going to do, because we're the producers for their groups. So
Nice.
I go out and I work really hard to find people that are raising wholesome food on really healthy soil. I help harvest it and get it to be able to feed animals. So, there's a lot to be said about how things are farmed, how things are processed. I can talk about it all.
Yeah,
And
how we
so
treat everything,
it's
really
life
important.
of a purpose, not quantity without a purpose. We got to have purpose, right?
Yeah.
And so that's, I think, the true mental health is
Yeah.
purpose. So what is your purpose?
I love that.
Yep. So I know that my mental health struggles, but once I have a purpose, I tend to balance out a lot better.
Yeah,
So,
that really pulls you out of a lot of places,
It does.
that you can get stuck in. So,
Yep.
yeah, I love that. And everyone
wipe
can
away
be part
judgment,
of it.
get rid of the judgment. We need structure, not judgment, and purpose.
Yeah. Well,
Okay?
come find us this weekend.
Please do.
And we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Have a good one.